Matthew 11, verses 2 to 19. When John, who was in prison, heard about the deeds of the Messiah, he sent his disciples to ask him, "Are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else?" Then Jesus replied, "Go back and report to John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the good news is proclaimed to the poor. Blessed is anyone who does not stumble on account of me." As John's disciples were leaving, Jesus began to speak to the crowd about John. "What did you go out to the wilderness to see? A reed swayed by the wind? If not, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes? No. Those who wear fine clothes are in the king's palaces. Then what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'I will send my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you.' Truly I tell you, amongst those born of women, there has not risen anyone greater than John the Baptist, yet whoever is least in the kingdom is greater than he. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has been subjected to violence, and violent people have been raiding it. For all the prophets and the law prophesied until John. And if you're willing to accept it, he is the Elijah who was to come. Whoever has ears, let them hear. So what can I compare this generation? They are like children sitting in marketplaces and calling out to others. We played the pipe for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, 'Oh, he has a demon.' The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, 'He is a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners.' But wisdom is proved right by her deeds." So John the Baptist hears of Jesus' deeds while in prison and sends his followers to ask what sounds like a pretty brutal question. Are you the one? John seems to be doubting, because what Jesus is doing is not what he expected. This is Jesus' own cousin, and even the John the Baptist is having a wobble. Does this look right? Asks John. And what was John expecting? Fire and brimstone, judgment, victory. It seems like even John's eyes were looking in this military direction. John is, of course, in prison. Imprisoned by Herod, who is the Jewish-ish leader, and the country was run by the Romans. John needed freeing. He wasn't sure that Jesus' actions looked like he was freeing the Jewish people from their oppression. Even John was looking for a military victory, a mighty battle, and freedom, finally, from the oppressors, or the oppressors of the oppressors. You've got the Romans, they were currently in charge. You know, maybe Herod and his family. John needed freeing from them all. But Jesus' battle was against illness, it was against blindness, it was against sin. He didn't seem too fussed by the Romans. His way of tackling the evil was not to tackle people, but sin. Jesus saw sin and illness as the real oppressors here, and his actions showed that. It baffled even those closest to him, even his own family. And even when he did take someone on, he took on the Pharisees, of course, but he didn't take them on in physical battle, rabbi on rabbi action. He took them on with his words. Jesus' sword was his word. And this is something that comes out later in Scripture. And remember, of course, that John the Baptist, although family, was not God. He was only the one who would prepare the way. He didn't have intimate knowledge of what Jesus would do. He was the warm-up act to the big thing. It is Jesus who shows us God's ways. John was the greatest of the preparers. And that's what Jesus states here. But he was not what he was preparing the people for. That was Jesus. Whoever has ears to hear, then listen up. Jesus is the one that all of the Old Testament points to. He is the one who John prepared the way for. And he is not sticking to the script that people thought he would stick by. So therefore, listen up. This man is unpredictable. He doesn't do things the way that you or I or they expected. He's different. This might go in a very, very unexpected way from here. So watch close. Listen up. And who is in for the ride?